So we all know that the values of our community affect the way we think, or that the rules of the road affect the way we drive. We all understand that the laws of our country dictate how we act. But I'm here to talk to you about a different kind of influence. The influence of the web services that you use every day, how they play into your life, and how the tiny decisions in their design can have ramifications in the real world. It's easy to think of web services as being superhuman. Something like Facebook or Google is so big and complicated that there's just no way you could understand what's going on there. And there's no way to draw any human assumptions or motivations that went into their design. But I'm going to propose a short little thought experiment. What if your favorite social network started ranking your friends, not friends' posts, not based on how much it inferred that you liked them, but on how much you would disagree with them? Would that make your experience a little different? Would that make your world a little different? Or what if your search engine suddenly took on a bit of an Icelandic viewpoint? Would that be a different experience for you when you started looking into a new topic that fascinated you? Or if your music store suddenly decided that you needed to listen to country music? That could really change the way that you look at music. And in any of these cases, would you really notice that the service had changed? Or would you think that something about the world had changed? To understand this, you need to understand how the services get created, how the rules get built, and how decisions get made. So we could think of this as spontaneous inspiration, geeks in coffee shops coming up with ideas and putting them out on the web. But the truth is, any savvy company worth its salt relies on measurement. They look at patterns of how people use the site. They change things, and they see if that drives them to use it more. If they find success, these methods get published somewhere, and they spread across the internet very, very quickly. And so measurement is at the core of decision-making. The next logical question is, what are they measuring? And the answer is this loosely defined term called engagement. Engagement is anytime you click on something on the web, anytime you link to something, anytime you tweet about it, anytime that you do anything that can be measured, it is called engagement. And that has some odd properties. A long, nasty argument, something bitter and fiery, that can be very engaging by any objective measure. An internet flame war, highly engaging. But a short love note that can make two people's lives much better, that is not very engaging. And so the data is wrong. A hot piece of gossip is more important than a health advisory. And I don't think that's true. So what happens when the best thing for us isn't very engaging? We're going to look at 3 examples of how driving engagement can be bad for users. And it's important to note, these aren't the work of evil villains. These aren't people trying to manipulate the populace. These are things happening all over the internet. These are examples of the next big thing. Companies are investing millions of dollars to get better at this without really looking at any of the costs. So the first problem is that really engaging sites know you too well. Personalization is the holy grail of the modern web. You want an experience that's totally tailored to the user, that knows what they want before they do. So for example, when I go to Google and I search for Apple, I get this. But when a farmer goes to Google and they search for Apple, they might get this. That's great. That clearly is giving people what they want, and it costs no one anything. And so let's dig into how a system like this works. Probably one of the most advanced is the Netflix recommendation algorithm. Netflix takes a look at all the movies you've watched and all the movies you've rated, and it puts you into a bucket. And then it looks at what other people in the bucket like that you haven't seen or watched or rated. And so it recommends that to you. 60% of Netflix's 16 million users, so 10 million people, give or take, use this to watch their movies, to make their choices. And once again, this doesn't sound so harmless. It's clearly a popular service, and it's recommending good movies. I mean, really, this all sounds pretty good. but nobody asked which bucket you really belong in, which bucket you aspire to be in. And movies are a pretty small portion of your life. You're not making life and death decisions based on this system. It's just choosing how you're going to spend 2 or 3 hours of your evening. What about matters of fact? Let's imagine this same system 10 years down the road. It's even better. It's truly personalized, and you're looking for information about ancient history. For 42% of Canadians, this is what you'd get as the result. Because 42% of Canadians believe that dinosaurs and humans walked the earth at the same time. Am I the only one who finds this a little scary? That as the system gets better, it's just reinforcing people's existing biases. Because there's no way that if you're in that 42%, you're not going to click on this, you're not going to blog about it, you're not going to tweet about it. You're going to drive every measure of engagement to tell that service this piece of content is authoritative. And what if you're wrong? And what if there's a way to find truth that is being ignored? And it's scary because it's happening already. You can see it right there, Google News, you go there today, and you get recommended news stories. But it's news stories recommended based on what you were interested in before, which means that it's picking up all your biases. Every time you click on the trashy news article, it's telling the system that you like trash. And so you're not the system isn't designed to improve your news reading. It's designed to get short-term engagement. Just get people to click on the box. So the next problem with really engaging sites is that they're very fun. And I say this half jokingly, but making something a lot of fun can make people addicted to it, not necessarily because of the value it delivers, but just because of the compulsion, the loops that they have designed into the system to make it really, really sticky. And sticky isn't the same as rewarding. Just how sticky something can become, World of Warcraft had 6 million man-years invested in it. 6 million years of someone's time went into World of Warcraft. And it's clearly very sticky and it's very engaging. People spend 3 billion hours a week inside virtual worlds in general. They're spending billions of dollars on property that only exists in a database. So this is something that people really buy into. And I'd like to dig into why, and maybe we can draw some conclusions that could be useful elsewhere. So I think the first reason people spend so much time in these worlds is because game designers take fun seriously. They optimize for it, they test it. They are basically reverse engineering the fun center of the brain. And they tell us something about ourselves from what games become successful and what games are boring. So evolutionary biologists tell us that people feel pleasure after completing a collection or a set. So for example, if you collect stamps and you get the last of the Mongolian 1956 train series, you're going to feel pretty good. But you didn't need to tell that to the Parker brothers. They managed to figure that out all on their own. B.F. Skinner spent years studying rats, their reaction to various reward schedules. What he did was he constructed a box and he had a lever and a food dispenser, and he toyed around with the ratio of how many presses of the lever deliver how much food. And what he found was that if you varied the size of the prize and the frequency that it's doled out, the rats are more likely to keep trying. But of course, you could have just looked at a slots player who's showing the exact same behavior. And I think this applies to a lot more than games. The best example of this in the offline world is really Weight Watchers. They use game mechanics brilliantly to make a diet regime harder to quit. Players keep track of points, they get rewarded if they stay within a certain range of points in their week, and it works. It's been around for 40 years, and people are stuck on the system. But today, the most successful use of game mechanics has been to get people to reach out and connect with one another. So I'm talking about social games like Farmville or Mafia Wars. They're growing very quickly. They have hundreds of millions of players. How do they do it, and why are people stuck there? Why do people spend hours of their day in these worlds? And I think it comes down to the fact that we crave a feeling of connection with others. When we can't find it, we become lonely and then depressed. And these games provide an easy way to escape these feelings, to be constantly connected with other people. And they're perfectly designed to give you safe little interactions with one another. You got this free gift. No one has to think about the phrasing of the message. It's all provided for you. And so it's very, very easy to stay connected. I mean, these are really a place to hang out. But what kind of a place is it? It's a place where who you know matters more than what you know. I mean, that's built right into the logic of the game. You can't move on to the next level until you've brought in a certain number of friends. And status is everything. And status comes from spending lots of time in this system and lots of money. It's definitely a place where yelling is better than talking. I mean, if you look at your Facebook newsfeed, you see people just yelling about these various social games. So I think the kind of place this is really a loud nightclub. I mean, Zynga makes money by selling virtual items to players for real cash. But it only works if players buy in. Just in the same way that you have to buy in when a nightclub says that they're cool, that's not enough. You have to really believe them if you want to stand outside for half an hour in the cold, knowing that the place is empty on the inside. The status that the items hold will be valued by the people they care about. So every time you join the game, every time you invite a friend, you make the game more valuable. You're one more person saying, this world is real, everything's okay, come and join me. And if a shallow relationship is what's needed just to get people into this world, to get people to commit, then they're going to design the game around facilitating shallow relationships. But it doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to spend our time in cheesy nightclubs. All of these tools that I've been talking about can be used to motivate people to do just about anything. It can make people happier, fitter, healthier, or even tidier. One of my favorite examples is Nike Plus. They do everything in their power to get people excited about running. And it works. And Nike Plus runners run more than if they didn't use this system. It's just a little tracking chip they put in your shoe, and then you run and you log your progress online. And they get to use all these levers and all these tricks to make running lots of fun. Remission is a game for kids with cancer. And the way the game works is you move around the human body and you learn about cancer as you're fighting it with a ray gun. And there was an independent study, and it found that kids who played this game actually handled treatment better. They are calmer and more comfortable, and they do proactive things that are taught in the game to improve their situation. Chore Wars is a game for roommates. And it makes a game out of doing housework. And it takes this really tedious task, something that can be divisive between people who live together, and it makes it into something fun and cooperative. And suddenly you're playing the game and you're building your profile and you're gaining points, and you don't even notice that you're sweeping the floor or scrubbing the toilet. Right now, I'm working on a game called Save My Life with some people in this audience, and the goal is really to lower people's risk of dying from cancer. And I think one of the ways we're going to do that is to throw out a lot of the standard metrics, the ways that we look at online services, and only focus on healthy actions in the real world. If that's the end goal, if that's all we're really thinking about, I think we have a chance at succeeding. And I think there's lots of people out here in the audience who are building services for the web. We're building things online that have people's attention. And I hope that you guys all take a moment and start to think about what else you could be measuring, how else you could be making decisions, and if there's a better way to make the world a better place through your service. Thank you.